Hi, friends, and welcome to the Be Who You Need to Be podcast, where we examine all aspects of our lives, such as family, career, and especially health. My name is Samantha Elizabeth, founder and coach at Samantha Elizabeth Coaching. I specialize in health coaching and helping people clean up their diets, increase their fitness, and change the way they think about themselves and the world around them so they are set on a healthier path. Before we get to today's episode, I wanted to let you know about my 360 Wellness Program. It's a comprehensive program that helps you build a strong foundation and things you can implement now to get set on a healthier path. If you're interested in learning more, head on over to samanthaelizabeth.com/360 program. You're listening to episode 2, where I talk to Julie Britt, a fellow solopreneur and feng shui consultant. Julie teaches us a lot about feng shui, which decluttering and designing your home environment for the energy you need in your life happens to be a component of my health coaching program. How can feng shui help you be who you need to be? Listen in. Hey, Julie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being my second guest on my podcast. For some reason, and for those that are listening to this and not actually seeing this, I try to look at the camera, but I want to look at Julie. I need to get one of those cameras that I can look at both my guest on the podcast as well as I can look at the camera. So if you're watching this, I really apologize. And I'm not looking at you the entire time. I'm looking at Julie. Julie's right here to me. So hi, Julie.
Hi, Sam.
It's production value,
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, welcome. I just, I wanted to have you on, for a number of different reasons, obviously because we met and, you do a lot of wonderful things and, we've created a friendship, around, all of the things that make us the same, as well as, things that we're very different in. And, so I really want to have you on the podcast to be able to talk about the things that you have taught me and a lot of things that you have taught me that I think a lot of people would be interested in too. So let's talk a little bit about, how we met, where you were, in your life and your business, at that time. And then I really want to just kind of dive into that topic a little bit more. So tell me about it. It was November of 2018. So
it seems like 1,000 years ago. Yeah. So I'm a solopreneur. That's what, if you're not an entrepreneur, I'm not trying to scale up and sell 1,000 million widgets. As a feng shui consultant and a life coach and just I couldn't quite put my finger on what I was, but I did know I was a solopreneur. I'm trying to do everything by myself. And so I started a meetup called Houston Solopreneurs, Professional Solopreneurs, and you joined, which was really great. And so we started meeting, you and me and several other people, started meeting every week, twice a week at the time. So on Mondays, we would tell each other what we were going to try and accomplish that week. And then on Fridays, we would report back just to give us some accountability. I really needed that.
Accountability groups are so monumental when you're doing a solopreneur, type of thing.
Exactly. And I work alone. I live alone. And so I'm an extrovert. And so it was really getting to me. I couldn't make any progress easily because I didn't have anybody to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody to discuss things. I didn't have anybody to vent a little and say, what would you do if you were me to do this, and get some ideas. So the solopreneurs meetup really, really solved that problem. And then I let the meetup go and we just continued meeting. So that's how we met. It was very exciting and very fun.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage everybody that is, if you're trying to do your business on your own and you really need a support structure, just somebody to even vent to or anything, go out and find your tribe, go find your people, people that you can, relate to, that you can learn from, that you can teach as well too. And that's such a monumental thing in our own learnings about our own businesses. So if you are an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, go find, the resources that you need in order to continue. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So much easier said than done.
Right.
Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like, well, where do I find these people? Where are my tribe? And we had some people who came and left. They were not the tribe. They were actually trying to scale up. They were at a little different level than we were.
Mm-hmm.
And but we were both in early stages of putting our websites together and trying to find the right words, which I'm doing a lot better now. I think I've gotten a lot of it, but it was such a frustrating time for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice. We had an informal arrangement within our group, and of course we met by Zooms, and everyone did something different. We had an attorney, you were a life coach, I was a feng shui consultant. I am a feng shui consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were coming at things from many different angles, and it was just so really nice to be able to be honest and authentic and true, and know that other people were being the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, that's how we met, and I'm so happy that we did, because we have formed a nice friendship. And then last year was really a trial for everyone, and it was really funny for me. I must say that maybe as a result of just having the small group that we have, I didn't really feel the effects of the COVID isolation so much. I was busy doing my stuff and working with a few clients, and I don't know. It was very different. I thought that I would really suffer for it, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I have the group to thank for that. So, but anyway,
Absolutely.
You had asked me at one point about how I'd gotten involved with feng shui.
Yes, yes.
It's kind of a long and convoluted story, but I will say that feng shui is like gravity. It exists. Gravity you can measure mathematically in 50,000 different ways and use all kinds of theorems and whatever from it. Same with feng shui. It's got a solid and a very complex mathematical basis, all of which I can't tell you. I have no interest in knowing how airplanes are made. I just want to know that they fly. And if you can put me in the pilot's seat and show me how to fly the plane.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to get better and better at it. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So feng shui just exists. It exists for everybody, whether they know it or not. It's an energy system. And I have always been really in tune with this energy that feng shui talks about. Yeah. And I can remember from the time I was 3, 4 and younger, because I only lived in this one place up until that time. I have very clear memories. And my babysitter's mom used to take care of my little brother and myself when the babysitter and her sister were in school during the week.
Yeah.
And so she would take us off to visit these older women. And when I say older, I mean they were like white-haired, older women. And I lived in the city in St. Louis. I lived in a kind of a working class area.
Yeah.
And so Mrs. Dowd would take me along to visit all these women that needed somebody. I don't know whether they were friends of hers or she was just checking. I don't know what her situation was. But when I would go inside of these apartments, houses, it just was so oppressive to me. I could literally feel the walls coming in, the looks, the colors, everything made a difference, as did the color of the day outside.
Yeah.
I was just really sensitive to all of that. It's like everything had a personality. I have an opinion about every place I've ever been. Yeah. Not an intellectual opinion. It's just, I feel it. And so even when I was like grade school, and you get the flu or you get something, and I would be home in bed for a few days or a week. And as I was recovering, I had pencils and papers. I love to draw. And I was drawing houses. I was drawing houses that I was imagining how they would look, where everything would be that would feel comfortable to me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was always moving my furniture around and I was always trying to get comfortable in a place that just was not going to be comfortable. Wow. And it's interesting because my mom was the same way. Sure. My mom and I, we were furniture movers. I mean, we could move anything together.
That's a bonding experience, moving furniture around, but
But I loved it. I loved it when mom decided she was going to change furniture around, because we would move it around. It was like a whole new house.
Yeah.
Have a whole different feeling. But it was never, our house was chaotic. I'm the oldest of ultimately 10 kids. We didn't live,
Yeah.
we're 16 years apart, so there was some time in there. But the house was just never right. The colors,
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of feelings about this whole thing. It's like that time of my life was colored by all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so time went on. It's just, this has always been true for me. It took me a long time to realize other people didn't have the same relationship
Yeah.
to their surroundings, and actually to other people as well. I could feel other people's energies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you say that you know, that people don't have that connection, but I think they do. They just don't realize that connection, right? They don't really, you know, feel their connection, you know, to their surroundings. And a lot of times.
I'll give you an example though of what I'm talking about, and maybe you disagree or not. I always knew, like, when you get to the high school and dating,
Yeah.
I always knew there were certain guys I just didn't want to go out with. And my mom would say, no, they're very nice guys. I think, yes, they are. And she, well, you have to give them a chance. You can't. But for me, it was never like that. What would happen is I was always very smiling and very fun. And so I was giving these guys the impression that, you know, I really liked them.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
you know, I was just doing what we were supposed to do on a date and, you know, being my girly self. But I had no intention. I mean, I really was getting nervous. It would give me anxiety.
Oh, wow.
They're going to
Yeah.
call me again.
Yeah.
And so this was my mom and whatever. And this is advice you get all the time. And in my life, it took me a while to finally just put my foot down to myself and say, you know what, I know when I meet people, if they're going to be friends or not foes, but if they're going to be someone to me.
Mhm.
Not every person that I've ever met has been my closest friend, and some relationships didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I have to say that never did somebody I think wasn't going to work out ever work out.
Sure. Okay. So you had that intuition, you know, about, you know, people, places, and, you know, things like that. So, you know, how did that kind of, you know, develop for you, you know, over the years?
Well, once I finally trusted myself to say, this is ridiculous. I'm not playing this game anymore. It's not good advice for me. And so, but I realized, like other people say, well, I just don't know. I don't know. I have to, you know, I get myself in trouble. And it's like, people don't know. So I feel like it's a little bit of magic that I came with. It's just part of who I am. But it took me a long time to realize that was the case. You know?
Yeah.
The other thing is that being the oldest of 10, ultimately, I was co-parenting with my mom. My dad and parents were of a generation where dads mowed the lawn, took out the trash, and brought home a paycheck.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they didn't change diapers, do dishes, cook. They did nothing. You know, they did nothing around the house other than sit there and read the paper.
Right.
That was their job in life. So my job was to kind of co-parent. And because I was really smart and I was precocious and wanted to please, my mom thought that I knew more than I did. And so it was always, well, you should know that. What are you doing? You should know better.
Oh, wow.
You're the oldest, and, you know, you set the example and everybody follows what you do. Well, you live with that. And pretty soon I thought everybody followed what I did.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. But what my goal became was to teach my siblings what they needed to know, but not to be dependent on me. I wanted to empower them to do for themselves. And I found I wasn't always very effective at it. It took me probably when I went to coaching classes to actually learn how to do these things. And I wish I learned years and years before. But nevertheless, that was always my goal. It's like, you can lean on me for a little while, but I'm going to show you what to do or how to do it. And then, you know, like, out of the nest,
right?
Go take care of yourself.
Sure, absolutely. So you want to teach people, how to fish and everything, and, maybe even how to prepare the fish, for food and, all of that kind of stuff. So
That's exactly right. And so this has always, I guess, been part of my DNA. And it makes me independent.
mhm.
But it also gives me a lot of freedom to think about
Yeah.
things
Right.
and to observe, which I love,
Yeah.
and to be, I really love friendship. I really treasure friendship and
Mhm.
the people that are close to me. So anyway, time went on. I was really interested in other metaphysical sciences, more like astrology, numerology, tarot.
Yes.
I was interested in how and I was interested in psychology itself. I thought maybe I'd be a psychologist, but
Yeah.
and I realized, no, I didn't want to deal with people who had problems that weren't making progress. It's like, make progress or get out of my office.
Right.
Kind of thing. That wasn't going to be for me. I wanted to work with people who wanted to make change.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, so I was more interested in that, and I actually pursued that rather in depth
Mhm.
for a long time, many years. And feng shui would come across my radar from time to time, but I'm very pragmatic. It's like, it's got to work. It has to
Yeah.
make sense to me. It has to have some validity
Right.
that
Right.
I can see. I want to measure it. And so I read about it and I just think, this is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I didn't give it much more than a passing thought, when it came up, and it didn't come up often. And then sometime, I guess it was in the 90s. I know it was in the 90s. It came to my attention again, and I was ready for it at this point. And I went to a place called Centerpoint here in Houston. I don't think it exists in the same way anymore, but they used to have all of these really, really accomplished masters of different disciplines there. And there was a woman who taught feng shui. And
Wow.
I just went. It's like, okay, I signed up. And I attended all of her classes. She was really good, and I worked really hard, and I just thought she was wonderful.
Yeah, about what year was this that you
This
started?
probably would have been around, this probably would have been around 96. That's
Okay.
about that's when I really got involved with it.
Sure. Yeah.
And, we get involved in these things because we have our own issues to resolve.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. And
We're
I'm
looking for
always
some
looking.
help and support,
Exactly. And so I was using astrology, which is psychological astrology, and it was really helping. But, I'm open to everything. So that's what I did.
Mhm.
And then I got the right books, and I just really dug in. It became really important to me. Well, I looked back, I had kept a journal for 30 years. I know that sounds ancient, but I kept a journal.
Yeah.
Not every day. And in 1993, a long-term relationship I thought would last forever and ever, hit the fan. And it hit the fan sort of coincidentally, I'll say.
Okay.
In quotes, about 3 weeks after I painted a bedroom red.
Oh, wow.
I know. And I had spent a lot of time thinking about this. This wasn't just, let's just paint a bedroom red. No, I had given this months of thought.
Wow.
And I had come up with this kind of at the last minute. I went, yeah, painted the bedroom red. And then I had balanced it. And it actually turned out quite pretty. It wasn't like, oh my God, a bordello. It wasn't anything like that. It was just really beautiful. And I went back at feng shui. It's like, feng shui is a picture. Let's see, how can I say this? It's the study of how your surroundings impact your mental, physical, and emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also your surroundings talk to you back and forth.
Sure.
So I psychologically needed to have this conversation with my partner.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't having a good time doing it. It was like he was just either being dense. No matter what I said, I couldn't get him to understand. I was trying all these different ways. It was very frustrating, but we were not arguing types of people usually.
Okay.
We were just really, we worked together about things. Well, so finally I really worked on this bedroom,
Mhm.
and I came up with it. We painted it red. 3 weeks later,
Mm,
everything
that was it.
for me.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to be a difficult conversation, but I really, really thought that we were at the point where we could weather absolutely anything. I just planned on being with him for the night, right? Well, it didn't work out that way. That red bedroom, that was an explosion. And
Sure.
it was, well, it was me exploding, but there was an intervention there that came, and
Sure.
it's like, oh, I couldn't just under the rug.
Yeah.
So when I looked back and I was checking things for feng shui to see how much does this, when I did this, what happened? It was just an amazing.
Oh, so that awakening, if you will, for that. Well, let's go back there. So, kind of like, what were your thoughts and feelings that you were having, during that time before you knew about feng shui? And then let's talk about the after, there. And so kind of the contrast or difference, between that.
Well, if I had known, let me start maybe this. Take me. If I had known feng shui at the point when I was feeling this need to, it's like this had been niggling at me for years. It had always been there, but it had been like, well, nothing's perfect. But I didn't realize this was a crack in the foundation. This wasn't just like a crack in the window or something. This really, so it needed to be dealt with. And it was very deep. If I had known feng shui at that point, I would not have painted the room red. I would have had more wisdom through feng shui. I would have balanced it better, because where I painted was in the self-knowledge area.
Oh, okay.
And the relationship area, which is opposite and to that, was grass that went up to a brick wall. And that's what I was encountering. I was encountering a brick wall, and I guess I blasted a hole through it. I'm not sure what.
Well, explain the whole, area thing too, because when you say areas, what do you mean by that?
Oh, thanks for asking that. Okay, so in feng shui, one of the tools is called the bagua. And the bagua is a square that contains, think of a tic-tac-toe inside of a box.
Wonderful, yeah.
And each of the squares around the perimeter are called guas, or those is a word for square. So bagua means 8 squares. Those are sensitive energy areas in your home. Now, this is a mystery. Why this works, I don't know. That I've had people give me some pushback about that. That's superstition. It's like, well, it works.
Yeah.
So, that's all I care about. If it works and it works consistently, then I don't care why it works.
Yeah.
People didn't know how birds flew either.
Yeah, those are the people that are just not like sensitive to their surroundings or anything. That's probably the people that don't, really see it or believe it, I would say.
Well, it's people who are not interested in pursuing it to find out. It's like, well, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to listen to any more about it. But anyway, the areas around the perimeter cover all the areas of our life. Yeah. And they all work in tandem together. One is not necessarily isolated from the other, but if you work real diligently in one, believe me, everything happens. And I worked very diligently in the wisdom and self-knowledge area.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly I couldn't dust anything under the rug. What I had been kind of just putting aside and saying, well, I'll think about this later, or whatever I was thinking, it was no longer possible.
Wow. Okay. So that really drew it out. Painting the room red, really drew that out of you then.
Yeah, because red is considered a fire element.
Oh, yes.
And fire can be fireworks. It can be romance, which is what I had in mind.
Sure.
Something more soft and warm, blah, blah, blah. And what I got was an explosion. I got TNT. I mean, that red, it was red. It was like not a lipstick red, but it was kind of a deep cherry red, maybe with little pinky tones to it. Yeah. Anyway, I love the room. Ultimately, I couldn't handle any more self-knowledge. This was a few years later. I repainted over the room. I just couldn't handle it. It was like, enough. I've had enough self-knowledge to last me the rest of my life. I need to be
right.
And things did calm down there. They definitely calmed down.
Sure.
So this was, the room was well balanced, but what it didn't have in it, it was not as sensitive. It lacked the water element or the sensitivity element.
Okay.
And if I had known feng shui before then, I would have gone about it completely differently. That room would have never been painted red. I would have found a different way to express it. I would have redone the room to help me communicate better.
Sure.
And, but that's not what happened. So I don't know, and I don't believe, I shouldn't say I don't know. I don't believe that even if I had done it differently and it would have been a gentler uncoupling, I don't think that our relationship would have continued.
Okay.
There were some very deep reasons why it was not going to happen.
Okay.
But it was a horrible situation. It was tragic.
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, there was not animosity. There was some anger, but there wasn't any animosity. It was just really just tragic. But that's how it was. You know, that was how it was. That's how I think my life was supposed to have been.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot about that, and I've learned a lot about relationship.
Yeah. So, a couple of things, about that too, because you had talked about, the crack in the window and everything. And usually a crack in a window means that there's a crack in the foundation, because your house is lifted shifting, right? So watching out for those cracks in the window and thinking, oh, I'm just going to replace that window. But, perhaps, there is that, just to go along with, with the metaphor there too. But are you still in the same house as this red bedroom?
Yes. I'm still in the same house.
So what is your room like now?
The room now is, it's a beautiful room. It's not red at all. It's got a quiet, and not quirky. I don't know. I just love the room. I don't know exactly how to describe it. I'd have to show it to somebody.
Well, yeah. And maybe perhaps, we can even, put a picture or something like that, if you would like to share a picture, we can put it on Facebook.
I can find, I do have a picture somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's obviously because your areas don't change or anything. It's still in your wisdom and knowledge. So what kind of elements do you have in there that kind of serve you in your wisdom and knowledge today?
Well, the room, first of all, it's a guest room. And that's very close to my heart. I love when my sisters come and stay. And so I haven't had as many guests, obviously, with COVID, but I really love that. So for me, that speaks to my sense of being a hostess and that type of thing.
Okay, good.
It's got an antique that I just adore in there. It's a very unusual piece. And when I go in and I see that, I don't know why, I just light up, makes me happy. Sure. The area has an heirloom in it from my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
That's really nice too. I really love the room a lot. And that to me is important. I don't have books or anything like that in there. That's not the kind of wisdom that I'm looking for. But it's a very calming, centering place.
Okay. So and that just kind of brings me up to, like, what are heirlooms and, antique things? What do they do for a room, when it's in a certain bagua or part of your house?
I don't know that there's any one place that you couldn't put one.
Sure.
The family of origin is an excellent place to have pictures and heirlooms, but they can go anywhere. It's how much you love the things that you have. Yes, absolutely. And so I have a relationship with these two pieces, and they always make me happy when I see them.
Yeah.
And one of them is actually kind of in disrepair, but it's not able to be repaired, and yet it's still functional. So it's like, I can give it. It's like, okay, you've served your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's okay with me.
Yeah, and that is absolutely wonderful. And that kind of brings me to, because when you talked about, that you're surrounded by things that you love and everything, I think about Marie Kondo's Sparking Joy. And that kind of brings me back to, feng shui and decluttering. So what is the relationship between feng shui and decluttering?
Decluttering is the absolute positive number one principle of feng shui. You cannot do any good feng shui because it's got to do with energy work. That's, I know we're kind of going fast here, but it's like energy cannot be created or it can't be gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Energy exists. It can be converted. It can be used. It can be dissipated, but you can never get rid of it. It's just, that's a scientific fact. And so feng shui is about learning to flow energy. Well, energy, so I'm sitting here, I've got my glasses here. So I picked these glasses. Other people have picked them too, but they mean something to me. In other words, they're my style, they're my whatever.
Yeah.
I love them. I have another pair that I just detest. I, have to get rid of those. But the fact is that everything has an energy to it. And when you've got clutter, your clutter is representative of old, outworn ideas, thoughts that you're not making decisions about, that you are not taking care of. So my office tends to stay pretty neat and clean. It does get all messed up when I'm doing creative things or when I'm really working, but I can usually get it, it clears out really quickly afterwards. But when you're doing creative stuff, you're going to have a mess.
Yeah.
Be aware. You're going to make clutter. If you're not making clutter, you're not being creative.
Right. That is very true.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend somebody gets involved in feng shui or learning the feng shui principles?
Oh, come to our meetup. I have a fabulous meetup that we're meeting on Zoom called Feng Shui for Everyday Happiness and Success.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's really fun. And so we have people from all over the country who are there, which is great. I've got a lot of people from here in Houston. So we're trying to figure out how to do the Zoom and in person all at the same time. We're working on that.
All right.
But yeah, so this is one way I am at this moment putting together some videos on a beginner's guide to feng shui. It's going to be like fast stuff so that we're able to get into it quickly at a very basic level. And you should be able after then to read all the books that you've bought that don't make any sense to you. They should start to make sense.
All right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be fun. It's a foundation for learning and then growing from there. You could go as far as you want with it, but hopefully you'll come with me and learn some stuff. As you can see, I'm an evangelist. I love teaching it. I love knowing it.
Well, that's the thing is you have to have passion for that. I mean, talk to, me about health all day long, and it's like.
Set me up. I can go.
Let's go on a retreat and let's chat. Yeah.
People are, so now that COVID is letting up, I'm going to start doing on-home visits, on-site visits.
Okay.
Which I used to do in the past. And those I enjoy them as much as I think clients enjoy them too, where I go to a residence and it'll take 2.5 to 3 hours. So just relax. We're going to go through your house. And I'm going to sort of make some observations with you about and find out exactly about this or that, or how, if something that's bothering you, it's always helpful to know that. And then depending on how they feel about it, which is usually pretty positive, we go shopping in their house, not shopping in a store. So I'll say, that picture that's in your living room, could we try that out in your bedroom over here?
Okay.
Could we try this lamp here instead of over there? And could we move this chair or the sofa to face this way instead of that way? And by the time, like I say, my mom and we move furniture. I'm an excellent furniture mover.
There you go.
I know. So if somebody will just give me a little hand, I'm really good at it. Usually the result or the effect is instantaneous. It's like, whoa, wow, that looks fantastic, or whoo. And you can feel that energy. It's the energy that you feel of enthusiasm or sadness or disgust, whatever you're feeling as an emotion, you feel it somewhere in your body. It's like when you're feeling happy, it's like, woo, everything feels like helium. And when you're feeling sad, everything feels like, cement.
Yeah.
Down there. And then those that swirl. Well, many people have homes that are not very calm. for a lot of reasons. They may have
Right.
they may have a lot of clutter. They may have too much furniture. Their furniture may be at all different wrong angles. Maybe their doors don't close. There's a lot of reasons why houses and homes are uncomfortable.
Yes.
And often it's not very much that needs to change to make the difference.
Yeah.
And the minute that difference is made, you begin to relate differently to your home, and your home starts to tell you a different story than the one that you had when you put things in those places.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a constant conversation back and forth, which is why, in my judgment or opinion, that all of a sudden things start working out really well like that. Because when you move things around and you open this energy flow, which you feel, it suddenly clears out a lot of cobwebs that have kept you from seeing opportunities. It's like suddenly something comes up. Well, it may have come up in the past anyway, and you just kind of fluff over it. Now, all of a sudden, something occurs, or someone enters your life, or some opportunity is presented to you, and you recognize it. Where in the past, it's like you have all this other stuff in the way, and you can't see it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're kind of awakening, people to their surroundings. It sounds like, you've always had that. You have a natural gift with that. And, not everybody does have that. So, it sounds like you really work with your clients to be able to help them, see the things that are causing them, giving them energy, right? Because they love it. It brings them joy, sparks joy, as Marie Kondo says, right?
Yes.
But then there's things that are draining, to them. So talk a little bit more about those draining things and like, what can you do, for that?
Well, things that drain your energy, it depends on what it is. Clutter drains your energy because a lot of people have rooms that they just throw whatever. It's like, sometimes it's the garage. It's like, okay, just put it in the garage. Just leave it out there. We'll get to it later. So getting to things later, there's really no later, and there's really no someday. You've got what you've got at this moment. So you can plan to do something, or you don't plan to do it.
Yeah.
But the fact is that drawers that are all junked up, garages that are full of stuff to the ceiling that go back, they're little kids' toys. They're all the broken stuff that you didn't want to do anything with. It's like, what the heck do I do with this? There's a lot of stuff that is really question marks about this. All of these things, even when you're not looking at them, but particularly when you're looking at them, you carry them around with you because you bought them, you touched them, you used to love them, hate them, whatever you did with them. They're part of you. So learning how to let go. And it's not just, just clear it out. No, if it were that easy, I wouldn't have a job.
Right. A lot of people don't want to let things go, whether it makes them happy or not.
That is true. There are some things that you can do that I can do to help people let go. Sometimes, if you're holding on really, really tightly, you might not let go tomorrow. So it may be a process. I'm not here to tell you how fast you need to move. That's really up to you.
Right.
But I can give you the tools and hopefully some motivation and some tricks that will take you through some processes. And all of a sudden, it's like you build, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're ready. And everything starts clearing out. And the more you clear out, the happier you feel. When your energy's up, it's very hard to feel unhappy. Or, I don't know. I was thinking about this particularly today. It's like happiness is not the goal of feng shui. I was thinking, okay, let me see if I take my temperature every so often during the day and say, how am I feeling? Am I feeling happy? I have to say, happiness is not the way I would have described my emotion at that moment. But the foundation of what I was feeling was contented, happy, and upbeat.
You were on the positive side.
Yeah, it's on the positive side. And it's like being in love. Nothing bothers a person that's in love. Nothing, right?
Yes.
So the whole objective of feng shui is to keep your energy up even when life starts bringing things down, and you'll go down. You
Yes.
will. Feng
Lots of
shui does
people are going
not
through that.
excuse you from living your life.
Yeah.
You're gonna be going up and down, but you're gonna have the tools, and also will have established a baseline that is here, not here.
Sure.
You know, and so if you're constantly working from the basement trying to get up to the first floor, well, you may be starting at the basement. I'm going to try and get you up to the first floor and then up to the second, whatever you want to go. It's just harder to when you start, but once you're in motion, it's much easier.
Right.
It's much easier to stay positive. You feel like you have control of your life.
Right.
I work in a creative area. I have a lot of different things that I like to do, but writing is one of the things that can be difficult for me from time to time, and trying just to get my head together.
Sure.
I want to do 50 things at once. That doesn't often work well. And especially when I'm feeling stuck creatively, my creativity and children's area happens to be in my garage, which is attached to my house.
Okay.
And the garage is the garage is the garage. I actually have a pretty well organized garage, but it does get messed up. And so one of the things, this may not be for everybody, but it really works for me. When I get stuck creatively, I go out there and I start clearing up the garage. I'll clean it. I'll sweep. I'll get the leaves out of it. I will get things done. I'll just start getting rid of stuff that I suddenly see doesn't have a place here anymore.
Sure.
And
a little TLC in that area, if you will.
Yeah. And as I'm working, maybe it's because my head clears because I'm thinking of something else. But in that creativity, I come up with more ideas. It's like, gotta write them down before I get back inside.
All right.
So for me, this is my way of dealing with it. I have a tool, which is when I need to be creative and I'm blocked, I go and work in my creativity area.
Do you think that directly translates though, if, somebody, does find that they have that, creativity area, and where maybe even the prosperous area, where you can think about it and everything. If you start working in that space and everything, do you think that it directly translates, to improving the area of your life, area of your life?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think that I will put it this way. When I go into people's homes, I actually go in with totally non-judgmental. I go with curiosity, and I'm interested in how people think and who they are. I really care about them. And so as I walk through people's homes, I can see where they're having some problems or some troubles, or things are stuck. Let's put it that way. Because very wealthy people can have stuck prosperity areas, just like anybody else, right? They worry the heck about money. It's like, oh my God, they have a lot of expense being rich. I put it that way. It costs money to be rich. And so if that amount of money isn't coming in, their prosperity area can be just as stuck as yours, and they can be just as worried.
Oh, great.
It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
So, so I can look in those areas, and I look in my own, and I can see sometimes it's not clear to me exactly what to do. And so I've discovered that reaching out for design help in this case, for me, I was like, I've got to sort of turn myself over to somebody and give them my thoughts, just like people give their thoughts and I help them, is really kind of the answer to the question. It's like,
there you go.
That's exactly what I had in mind. I just couldn't think of it.
Absolutely.
Right. But they've got the tools. They know all the places to get great looking accessories, where I would, go to Home Depot or someplace, and I would just see what everybody else sees. But designers and decorators, if you can find somebody who's willing to work with you, are able to tap into, let's put it that way. They're able to tap into sources that you'd never think of.
Yeah,
and they have visions you'd never think of. But I had, when my ceiling fell in, which was interesting, that's when I completely redid my house. You had asked me, do I live in the same house I did as I painted the bedroom?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The house, yes, the outside, the house is the same, but it's not at all the same.
Oh,
There's
wow.
walls gone, colors are different, everything is different.
Yeah. Now with that and everything, did you get to kind of like rezone the rooms, with the ceiling coming in, or what did you get to do? Or was it everything kind of just still structured at the same, same size rooms and, everything?
Well, it's really funny. I was clearing out photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Going through those. As you know, we had done a thing on decluttering photos. It's a very emotional thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I found pictures of my house from back then. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now I see them really differently. So the living room and not the dining room, but the living room and the room behind it, which was considered at the time, I live in a 50s house, was like the den or the family room.
Okay. Yeah.
So it just had a regular doorway going in there. And that wall came down completely so that my living room went all the way through.
Oh, wow.
What I made into the dining room.
Yeah.
And the color was a deep blue before that, not a navy blue, but a French blue.
Mm-hmm.
That all got changed to ivory is the name of the color, but it's not ivory. It's kind of got a soft yellowy,
Okay. Yeah.
ivory look to it. Oh my goodness, I just completely relaxed. But after I did that and I started going to furniture stores, I realized I'm in way over my head.
Yeah.
I'm in way over my head. I know feng shui wise how things might look, but how I can put them. So I ended up going to, I went to Ethan Allen. I'll just give them a plug. I went to Ethan Allen and I told the sales designer person there, I said, look, I can buy a sofa, but I really need help with the whole room, but all I can do is buy the sofa. Can I just buy your time to help me with this? And
right.
I'll be glad to help you with this. Don't worry about it. And I got the best help ever. She brought out different things. She took me through the showroom. She gave me a book. She said, mark what you like. It was a whole psychological thing that they did.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they're still doing it, but it was really valuable.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I picked a sort of a setting, and she gave me the samples to bring home, and I put them in my room and I draped them over chairs. And I was going to live with them for a few days, and everything was fine until the last day when it was raining and it was gray outside.
Oh, wow.
And I walked into the living room where this stuff was.
Yeah.
And this must have been before the wall went down. Anyway, I looked at that and I was so depressed. The colors just absolutely leveled me.
Wow.
Where before I was like, well, this is bringing out my more sophisticated side.
Sure.
I'm not a sophisticated person. Not like that. Cool.
Right. So the weather, affects as well too, like what you put
gray.
into a room. Yeah.
Right. It turned gray. And the minute it turned gray, everything sunk.
Wow.
It just sunk.
That's
and I
crazy.
went back, and we had worked so hard on this, and I said, I hate to say it, but this isn't going to work. And I said, but here's a pillow that has a fabric on it that every time I see this fabric, I cheer up. I just love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
And working from that pillow, she said, we can redo this. Don't worry about it. And she came up with a whole different palette.
Wow.
Different color for the walls. And it was like, yes, that is what I'm looking for. It just spoke to me. It's like, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And so I was out of the house, and we ordered the furniture. My wall was coming down. The floors were being redone. And it was Christmas time when I got back in. It was early in December. And I said, I'm going to have a party. And so I decided to do this dessert party. I'd done it before. And I realized after I sent out the invitations around the 3rd of December that nothing's in yet.
Yeah.
And so I called my designer and I said, can you help me out? And she said, I'll decorate for you. And she
Wow.
came with all this stuff from florists and all different, I don't know where, they all had the price tags and everything in it.
Sure.
And we hid those up into the leaves, and the place looked fantastic. It didn't have a tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she absolutely made it look wonderful. So my point about saying this is that working with people who have the right resources and the knowledge is, and they translate you. You don't just say, just go in there and do something lovely.
Sure.
I guess you could, but I would never do that. And it took away all of the angst that I was feeling. But I was having angst anyway because I was in such flux.
Sure.
After a divorce, it was like I was in turmoil.
Yeah, exactly. A big change like that happens to a lot of people, you know, where you kind of get stuck in a loop, or you go through turmoil, or, you know, you kind of emotionally hit rock bottom, you know, all of those things.
All of those things, and to the max. And so once the room was painted and the furniture was in, it was like I took this deep breath. Everything felt different to me. Everything felt different to me. My life improved enormously. It was I was still sad, and yes, I was still going through some turmoil, but not to the extent. You know, it was like suddenly my house was hugging me.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that you use that terminology too, because I do feel the same way. When I walk into my house, I feel like it gives me a nice warm hug. You know,
it's exactly the way it should feel. Exactly the way it should feel. If it doesn't, and that's when people usually contact me, it's like, there's something wrong here.
Yes.
You know, this house is just, it's not comfortable. I don't know what's the matter with it. And so, but I know, at least I know when I get there, it's like I can help them. I see through their eyes what they're doing, and then I can kind of unsee it. And sometimes it takes people a little while to make the change because internally they're not ready.
Sure. Yeah. You know? Right.
But when it came to that room, I was ready. I took the wall down. I didn't think I was going to take the wall down either. That was the best thing I did. You know, somebody said, "Are you going to take that wall down?" I said, "No, I'm not going to take the wall down." The minute I said that, I thought, I'm going to take the wall down.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said too, I mean, a lot of it is internal. A lot of times, you know, people, clients come to me and they want to work with me on their nutrition and fitness. You know, they want to kind of get that down so they can lose weight, you know, and they think that that is their goal, you know, but in the discovery phase, you know, there's other factors, you know, that are bothering them, you know, that's bothering them internally. And, you know, could be a relationship factor or something like that, that's actually causing us to overeat, or, you know, to sit on the couch rather than exercise. And, you know, all of those, you know, kind of emotions, you know, bog us down because of an external factor that we might have not realized that it's the case. So it sounds like that too. Like when you walk into a room, you know, it's not balanced, or, you know, there are elements, you know, within the room that cause you that kind of bog that down, you know, for you.
Absolutely. Well, you talk about the health, everything, you know, and what's inside of people. This is holistic. We do not live our life in compartments. We live our life as a whole. And we live our life in relationship to everyone else and everything else around us. So working on our health is the same when we work from a feng shui angle. There's the health area. Any one part of your house where there's where things are stuck, where I would say energy is stuck, that's going to affect your health too. It's like wherever that is, the energy is going to sort of stop and stick there, even if everything else is good. So working on that, though, opens things up in other areas. You never get done. It's like peeling an onion. But you become more successful, and you become more confident, and you get more self-esteem. And again, you can take it as far. Some people are not going to take it as far as you and I might take things.
Right.
But for me, this is a total joy to learn and to know and to have a life that I feel I'm in charge of. If not every little tiny thing, it's like my life flows along well. Where in the past, just like I had no money, I was worried constantly. I had anxiety. I suffered from depression most of my life. I didn't know it was that. You know, I just thought everybody felt that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, this has been a wonderful basis from which I could sort of springboard it was the last thing, it was the last metaphysical science I've learned. And it's been, I don't know, maybe if I'd learned it too early, it wouldn't have meant so much.
Wouldn't have resonated with you, maybe. Yeah. So good.
I would think I was ready for it. I had combined so many things. I love cross discipline. I don't find that any of them really contradict one another.
Yeah, right. I think everything works together. You know, you can get it to work together. So this has been great. You've definitely given us a lot of insight, you know, to feng shui, and I love that. So where can they find you on the web, Julie?
Okay, so the name of my company is called Feng Shui Wizardess. It's like wizard with an ESS to make it feminine. So it's fengshuiwizardess.com. And I should be getting my calendar up to date pretty shortly. I've got a lot of things that are ready to go on there, but haven't been put on there yet.
All right.
But they should be up there by the time maybe people are hearing this and then beyond. Got some blogs on there. Got a lot of stuff in there. So
wonderful.
Come visit me. Love to have you visit this. Yeah. And also I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I try to post every day something. I've got fortune cookies in the beginning of the week and humor at the end of the week with tips and meditation in between. So, you know, something for kind of fun, taking various looks at feng shui from other than just put roses in the relationship area. That kind of stuff is to me a little bit boring after a while. It's like, let's get into it and learn how to really have a great life. So thank you, Sam. This has been so
absolutely
fun.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I love that, you know, you taught us so much more about feng shui, you know, definitely taught me, even though I knew, you know, a lot of, you know, what you've already taught me, you know, about feng shui and what you've helped me out with in feng shui. So I think it's absolutely wonderful. So thank you so much, Julie, for being on the podcast. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Well, thank you. And you too. Thanks so much, Sam. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to rate, review, and share with your friends. Thank you for listening. I hope that you're walking away with some ways that you can live your best life and being who you need to be. If you would like to work with me, head on over to SamanthaElizabeth.com to learn more about me and my coaching services. Until next time.